Thursday of the 33rd week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the first book of Maccabees. The officers of the king in charge of enforcing the apostasy came to the city of Modin to organize the sacrifices. Many of Israel joined them, but Mattathias and his sons gathered in a group apart. Then the officers of the king addressed Mattathias, "You are a leader, an honorable and great man in this city, supported by sons and kin. Come now, be the first to obey the king's command, as all the Gentiles and the men of Judah and those who are left in Jerusalem have done. Then you and your sons shall be numbered among the king's friends, and shall be enriched with silver and gold and many gifts." But Mattathias answered in a loud voice, "Although all the Gentiles in the king's realm obey him, so that each forsakes the religion of his fathers and consents to the king's orders, yet I and my sons and my kin will keep to the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the commandments. We will not obey the words of the king, nor depart from our religion in the slightest degree." As he finished saying these words, a certain Jew came forward in the sight of all to offer sacrifice on the altar in Modin, according to the king's order. When Mattathias saw him, he was filled with zeal. His heart was moved, and his just fury was aroused. He sprang forward and killed him upon the altar. At the same time, he also killed the messenger of the king, who was forcing them to sacrifice, and he tore down the altar. Thus he showed his zeal for the law, just as Phinehas did with Zimri, son of Salu. Then Mattathias went through the city shouting, "Let everyone who is zealous for the law and who stands by the covenant follow after me." Thereupon he fled to the mountains with his sons, leaving behind in the city all their possessions. Many who sought to live according to righteousness and religious custom went out into the desert to settle there. The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "To the upright I will show the saving power of God." God the Lord has spoken and summoned the earth. From the rising of the sun to its setting, from Zion, perfect in beauty, God shines forth. To the upright I will show the saving power of God. Gather my faithful ones before me, those who have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. And the heavens proclaim his justice, for God himself is the judge. To the upright I will show the saving power of God. Offer to God praise as your sacrifice, and fulfill your vows to the Most High. Then call upon me in time of distress. I will rescue you, and you shall glorify me. To the upright I will show the saving power of God.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. As Jesus drew near Jerusalem, he saw the city and wept over it, saying, "If this day you only knew what makes for peace! But now it is hidden from your eyes. For the days are coming upon you when your enemies will raise a palisade against you. They will encircle you and hem you in on all sides. They will smash you to the ground and your children within you, and they will not leave one stone upon another within you, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation." The Gospel of the Lord.
The first reading is 1 Maccabees 2, 15 to 29. Antiochus Epiphanes, the emperor of the Seleucid Empire, had decreed a persecution upon the Jews. The Jewish people were to accept the Hellenistic faith, Hellenistic way of living. Mattathias, who was a priest gathers his sons, and they rebel against the pagan authorities. First of all, killing a Jewish person who was sacrificing a pagan sacrifice, and then going off into the mountains where they could gather with all the people who rejected the pagan ways. Nowadays, Mattathias would probably be considered to be a religious zealot, somebody who uses violence to get his way. We have to realize that this is a question, though, of survival. That if the Jewish people allow themselves to adopt the Hellenistic ways, they will lose what is most precious, their special relationship with God. The Gospel is from Luke 19, 41 to 44. Jesus weeps over Jerusalem, speaking about the destruction of the city, that not one stone would be left upon another. Remember, this was fulfilled in 70 AD when the Romans destroyed the city and the temple. Was this an authentic saying of Jesus? Most probably it was. Why did Luke include it in the Gospel? Because by the time that Luke is writing his Gospel, around 85 AD, this prophecy had already been fulfilled. So it's all the more reason why the people would say Jesus had earlier predicted this. Not saying that Luke made it up, but rather that that passage which had been predicted was remembered because it was fulfilled. And may God bless us. November 23rd, Thanksgiving Day. These are the readings that the special readings for Thanksgiving are used. The first reading comes from Sirach 50, 22 to 24. It blesses God for all the wondrous things that God has done upon the earth, that from the moment that we're conceived in our mother's womb, God protects us, fills us with His grace. Therefore, our reaction to this should be a tremendous sense of gratitude, that God is good. Oprah Winfrey once said that we should write a diary of gratitude every day of our lives, writing down at least 5 things for which we're grateful every single day. Because if we emphasize that for which we're grateful, then we won't be resentful, we won't be jealous of what others have received. The second reading is from 1 Corinthians 1, 3 to 9. It's a thanksgiving that we find at the beginning of the letter to the Corinthians. There were 5 basic elements in Greek letters in ancient times: the person who's sending it, the person to whom the letter is being sent, a greeting, usually the simple word greeting, the body of the letter, and then a closing salutation. Paul, in most of his letters, adds a 6th element, a thanksgiving, and this is typical Paul. In this case, he's thanking God for all the gifts that the people have received, that they're not lacking in any spiritual gifts, and the fact that God will hold them firm until the end. Gratitude is essential in our faith because if we're not grateful, then we begin to think that we're doing it on our own, that we're autonomous, that we become our own gods. Gratitude is that constant recognition that everything we have, everything we are, depends upon the providence of God. The Gospel is from Luke 17, 11 to 19. This is the story about gratitude. Jesus is passing through Samaria and Galilee, and 10 lepers come up to him and they ask for him to do something with their leprosy. He heals them all, but only one returns, a Samaritan. Now you have to realize what an impact this story would have upon its listeners. Remember, the Samaritans were hated, and yet the Samaritan is the hero of this story. What does Jesus say? Stand up and go, your faith has saved you. Notice, the Samaritan has not only been healed, there's a specific word in Greek for healed, he's been saved. That by his gratitude, he has purified his heart. He's recognized the power of God which acted in his life. Therefore, he's healed both physically and spiritually. That's what God has come into the world for. Not just to heal us physically, but also to heal the deepest wounds of our heart, to supply that which no one else can supply, a love which can never fail. Samaritan, even though he's a foreigner, even though he's an outsider, has recognized this, where the others, who we presume were Jewish, did not. And may God bless us.